This is Massimo Buonomo, United Nations Global Expert in Blockchain. And today we're going to talk about blockchain and the impact on education, water, and sustainable development goals. First of all, we're going to talk about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the main issues at stake. In 2015, the world leaders adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development that included a set of 17 SDGs to end poverty, fight inequality and injustice, and tackle climate change. Now, the SDGs, part of a Resolution 71 of the United Nations General Assembly 2030 Agenda, and you can see the list of all the Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17, and they are very interesting and a little bit hard to achieve, actually. Now, what is the focus of UN Sustainable Development Goals and the interaction with the blockchain? We can focus on 5 main issues: education, digital identity, circular economy, water, and impact investing. But the most important point is that the dynamic and combination, a combined interaction of these different factors. So we have to look at these factors combined and not just in isolation. Now, let's start with SDG 4, which is aimed at education. SDG 4 says that to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. What are the consequences of no education in less developed countries? There are quite important consequences, because there is loss of dignity, exclusion, declining health, poverty, stagnating economic growth, and above all, denial of rights. And we're going to focus on a World Bank report that was referred to depriving girls of education, specifically secondary education. There are 3 main impacts we're going to look at: earnings and standards of living, child marriage and early childbearing, and fertility and population growth. The first point, earnings and standards of living, it's quite interesting because it says that the World Bank report says that on average, women with secondary school education earn almost twice as much as those ones with no education at all. So you can see the impact of education on the girls' standard of living. And then it comes child marriage and early childbearing, because universal secondary education for girls could actually virtually eliminate the child marriage, which is in fact entering in a union between the age of before the age of 18, and also substantially reduce the risk of early childbearing for women, which means having a first child before the age of 18. So we can see that the impact of education is incredibly important for the lives of these girls. And also there is an issue of fertility and population growth, because universal secondary education for girls could reduce total fertility rate and lead to a reduction in global population growth rate. So these are the most important points, but there is a need of blockchain applications to help these girls continue secondary education in less developed countries. This would be a very important application of blockchain for the lives of girls and SDG 4. But also there is another application, blockchain education, which is related to verification of students' credentials. Why? Because there is a need of enhancement of the credibility of job applications by introducing new features to job search platforms. What does that mean? That means that there is a risk of fraud, and therefore there have been some blockchain applications created just to avoid that. For instance, in Korea, the largest job search platform called Saramin HR uses icon loops, decentralized ID technology to verify the applicant's credential and avoid frauds. This is the first full implementation of blockchain technology in recruitment and staffing industry in South Korea. So this is a very important, this gives a very important impact for the life of these students, although there are some GDPR rules, privacy rules, that are at stake. Then let's go to legal identity, digital identity. This is a program that is very important and is being addressed by ID 2020, and we're gonna come to that in a minute. First of all, let's start with the Article 6 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which says that everybody shall have the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. Everybody has this right in the world. And what is the impact of not having that? The impact, we can see it for tens of millions of children who do not have that and no formal record of their existence. They do not have an ID, and that is a barrier to vaccination. So that means that they do not get vaccinated, and therefore they are subject to terrible disease. So the digitization of identification systems through the blockchain could help to provide a legal identity for all, and therefore could help have a birth registration, which is addressed by SDG 16. Also, this would help reduce global maternal mortality, which is addressed by SDG 3, and access to education, SDG 4. So we can see that addressing this problem of digital identity, we address many issues, many SDGs included in the list of the United Nations. Now, what is ID 2020? ID 2020 is a non-profit public-private partnership which is committed to improving lives through digital identity. But in practice, that means that it's a partnership composed of UN agencies, NGOs, companies, governments. All of them are aimed to build a digital identity network on the Ethereum blockchain that is aimed to access to digital identity for those living without identity. So they give this platform gives an opportunity to have a digital identity for all. Therefore, the ID 2020 mission supports the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and provides legal identity for all, including birth registration by 2030. That is the aim. I doubt that we're gonna succeed on that, but we hopefully try. Now, ID 2020 very recently partnered with the National Cybersecurity Center, a US Colorado Springs-based nonprofit organization committed to promoting cyber innovation and awareness. Why that? Because of course, if you have digital identity on the blockchain, you have to make sure that the cyber security of that blockchain is the best, because from that depends the digital identity of many people. Therefore, we can see that that brings, this alliance brings together institutions to set technical standards for good digital identity. They prioritize privacy, user control, and interoperability, very important issue. In practice, we can see, for instance, an alliance, ID 2020 alliance partner, iRespond, is working closely with the International Rescue Committee to develop a blockchain-based iris recognition service. So they scan the iris, and with that, those data go into the blockchain, and they give a digital identity for the person whose eyes was scanned. And this gives refugees a digital identity, especially, for instance, in the case of My Lai camp in Thailand. With these digital identities, refugees can more reliably access better healthcare because they have access to an electronic medical record, and also in the future they could have their details, their employment details on the blockchain, their education details as well, and that would help them to look for a job. Let's look at another issue which is related to the ones that we are talking about, the circular economy and water, which is of course as at stake in the SDGs. The fashion industry is the second most polluting industry after oil and gas in the world. It takes 2,700 liters of water to produce the cotton needed for just one t-shirt, which is as much as you drink over a 3-year period. If you consider also a pair of jeans, that needs the use of 7,600 liters of water in total. So in total, we have 10,000 liters of water just for a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, like more or less 10 years of drinking water. Fashion rental companies try to avoid that with the circular economy projects that are financed by impact investors. So you can see the interconnections between these elements. Just to give you another example, the fashion industry consumed in 2017 79 billion cubic meters of water, which is enough to fill 32 million Olympic-sized swimming pools. And that figure is expected to increase by 50% by 2030. So you can see the amount of water that is being wasted by the fashion industry. The main aim is to reduce the environmental impact of the fashion industry, the use of child labor that happens, and human trafficking in the luxury business. How that is being tried to be addressed? In UK, the department store group Selfridges has launched a Project Earth for a new sustainability drive with a focus to resell and repair models and to address materials used in products, and also greener retailing operating models. Then there are some blockchain projects. The blockchain technology supports sustainability practices with the capability to track the physical products through the life cycle. So this gives transparency in the supply chain tracking process, and that is related to supply chain tracking of the products used in the fashion industry. Now let's look at some blockchain companies. First of all, we have a Luxury Closet, a Dubai-based marketplace for pre-owned fashion, which is piloting a fashion rental business in Dubai. And then just this month, in September 2020, Alexander McQueen in UK launched a new technology-driven label called MCQ. This brand is backed by a blockchain-based platform that enables both designers and consumers to register and trade clothes. So there wouldn't be such a waste of clothes in the future. And at the same time, we have a community-driven fashion platform to be created. That is a way to solve this problem. Now, what is been going on recently is that millennials and Z generation are more sensible to environmental impact of the fashion industry, more than the previous generations. Luxury rental companies have great market opportunities with new future customers, because through rental platforms, consumers can create a changing closet, but at the same time, they protect the environment. So we have both sides. There is therefore a great market opportunity for blockchain luxury companies, because these new luxury rental companies need to prove the authenticity of their products to increase their customer base. And we come to some other companies that are specifically aimed at that, to prove the authenticity of the products. For instance, there is this company called the Luxochain, which is a Swiss company They launched a luxury goods authentication service using the blockchain to certify the products and fight counterfeiting. So with this Luxochain system, any buyer, if I buy a cloth before the purchase, I can scan and verify the authenticity of each product in store and online. In the case of theft or loss, the buyer will be able to block the asset so as to facilitate the recovery of the object and return to the rightful owner. So we can not only make sure that the product is authentic, but also if somebody steals it, we can make sure that it gets back to the rightful owner. Then we have LVMH with Aura, and LVMH is the world's largest luxury conglomerate in France, and is planning to use the technology to track luxury goods and prove their authenticity, and is working with the Ethereum Design Studio Consensus and Microsoft Azure, and they've been building a permission version of the Ethereum blockchain called Quorum. That's the permission version. And Quorum was developed by US bank JP Morgan. Now, Aura traces origins of luxury products from raw materials right to the point of sale and beyond to used goods markets. So we have a definition of the whole process from raw material to the point of sale. And LVMH intend to offer this service as a white label form to other brands, including their competitors. So in fact, what is the importance of smart contracts? Blockchain, to be successful for the implementation of any project, like luxury projects, it is important that the workflows must define all the details of the impact investments through detailed smart contracts. Currently, there is a transition between general purpose blockchains to specialized blockchains. But what is most important for the blockchain is the definition of smart contracts. Because if smart contracts do not explain all the aspects of the transaction, there is potential problem for the implementation of the transactions registered on the blockchain. If the database instead is well defined, the blockchain will be successful. Now, finally, let's focus on water. There is a blockchain company called Water Ledger. Water Ledger was created by Australian company Civic Ledger, which is a startup focused on civic application of blockchain. This blockchain is quite interesting because, first of all, it's an Ethereum-based blockchain designed for global water marketplace. What does that mean? That if there are some water trades, transactions, let's say that a company buys an enormous amount of water for their textile or luxury business, the amount of water they buy is registered on the blockchain. And the amount of water that is sold as well is for the buyer and the seller are registered on the blockchain. So we can verify all the transactions and update state registers in real time. And we can know if where the water is going, how much water is being used, and if it's being wasted for a sustainable purpose or not. So this gives a lot of transparency to the water market because we know the use, the provenance of such transactions, the water trades. The aim is to optimize the use of the water more towards human needs and less to waste. So we can see that we have given an overview of the whole picture of blockchain to many sustainable development goals, and that has been the focus of myself. I am a United Nations Global Expert in blockchain. Thank you very much.